Hello, this is Annette with Project Refine Life. Welcome to my channel and the November 2023 monthly wrap-up. Let's take a look at the month. So beginning the month, we had Dia de los Muertos. And if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you will know that this celebration is very, very important to me. This is a time where I can just slow down, recognize those who have passed, those who have moved on, and honor them, honor their life, honor their presence. So I set up an altar, and we do offer pan de muerto and coffee beans and tobacco and all these things for our loved ones. But it is a beautiful, beautiful time of celebration, offering even the mole that I make. So that is one of the most important things within November for us. And also, we did celebrate our 18th wedding anniversaries. So for that time, we went to Tucson and spent just an overnighter over there, but spent time going throughout the city. And one of the shops that I really wanted to visit that had opened just in October was a shop called Bruja. And it is a beautiful little metaphysical store that had crystals and books and decks and oils and all kinds of wonderful things. This candle right here that I'm burning, that I am just about at the end at, and I'm really sad about it because I really love the candle. It's called Sacred Earth Crystal. Beautiful, beautiful shop. The owners were fantastic. I really enjoyed talking to them. Had a lot in common with them. And she had referred us over to Nexus Occult books, which we went and took a look at, and I loved that bookstore. If you're ever in Tucson and you are interested in any type of the occult, visit this bookstore because it has just a number of topics. It is great. Moving on to my journal for the month of November. Now, I have been really enjoying the work and the time that I am spending within my journal. So setting it up lately has been one of the biggest ways of release for me that I've experienced in a long time. And I want to say that I don't know how long I'll do this, because there could be times where I'm just overwhelmed by it as well. We have to kind of weigh and measure what feels right for us at certain times. And just within the past, I would say at least 6-7 months, getting deeper into my journal has really been an outlet for me. So I'm just going to flip through my journal and share a few things with you. So here's a picture of my altar, and then this is the Mayan calendar so that I can follow along with the energy of the day. And I always begin the month with a cacao invocation and a cacao ceremony. So that is my invocation for the month. And of course, this is kind of honoring the Dia de los Muertos, the idea of that time spent with our ancestors and with our loved ones. Because just because they've passed doesn't mean that they're your ancestor. So remember that when looking into all of this. I always keep track of all the decks that I used, any books that I've read, as well as taking note of anything that's new to my collection within the month. So if you're curious as to what decks and books I brought in, because there were a number of books and gifts for the month of November, take a look at my November 2023 deck and book haul, and you can see a full outline of that. So I started it off working with one deck in particular and really used that deck for a bit. And it really was interesting for me to use that deck during this time, because when we went to Tucson, and the feeling of going to Tucson was really deep for me. So I found this image online and I loved it for just a little, like a little wrap up of how it felt while we were in Tucson. It was a really wonderful trip. It was not hurried, and we didn't have anything really specific to do other than spend time together. And so I wrote a little bit about it here, and then I made this little like collage of images from our trip to Tucson. I have a couple of them covered up because one is my husband and one is a picture of my girls, and I just want to keep their their things a little bit more quiet. But here's a little picture of the cabin that we were at the KOA in Tucson. If you ever go to Tucson and you want a nice little place to stay that's relaxing, look into the KOA. They have these little mini homes or tiny homes, and it's really convenient to stay there. We take our food, we cook, we roast marshmallows outside and have s'mores and eat outside. And while we were there, on Sunday morning, we were outside just spending time because the morning was just beautiful. And all of a sudden, this big bird flew in and was sitting on top of the solar panels. Well, that guy stood there for at least 2 hours because we were sitting out there for at least 2 hours. He stood, he waited, he was patient, and I was just enjoying the view of this bird. Now, first, I thought it was a hawk, but as we came home, it's interesting because I was looking at some of the pictures that I took of this bird. This is the only one that I landed up with after all that, but I was taking a look at some pictures of the bird, and I came to realize that it was a juvenile eagle, which was amazing. Truly, truly amazing. They say you don't really see those all that often, and it was just a pleasure to be in the presence of this beautiful, beautiful eagle. It was amazing when I found out and realized what it was. But interestingly enough, all the pictures that I took of that bird, only one of them was able to make it through, and I took quite a few. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they're gone from my camera roll. So very interesting. So these are some of the decks that I worked with throughout the month. And excuse some of the printing here, but my printer is on its way out, but I am not buying a new one. Not yet. I don't know when. But as you can see, I really got into just taking some time journaling. I was taking some time within the beginning of the Trecenas within the Mayan calendar, and really getting into some of the deeper subject and the deeper meaning of that Trecena and how it would affect me during the following 13 days. It was a great, great journaling month. Now, this is one of my moon journaling sessions that I went through. This was a new moon in Scorpio, and back here is the full moon in Gemini. Most of these images that you see here are from the Forager's Daughter Patreon. It is a fantastic deal. I get it, I cut it up, and I kind of mix it up with things that are important to me. I put my little ritual in there. She always does also a tarot spread for the full moon, new moon, as well as any other Wheel of the Year type events that are coming in. And she also does a deep dive each and every month on a tarot card, which I think is an amazing deal. I think it's like $3 a month. Just an amazing, amazing deal. I really enjoy working within that Patreon. It's really, really good. So for the new moon in Scorpio, I worked with this deck here, which is the Goddess of Love Tarot and the Death Doula, and I'll show you the pairings of that one in just a few minutes. Also, while I was in Tucson, some of the things that I got were the Mind's Eye Tarot and then this little carved skull right here, which I love. I love just the shape to it. I love that it's not like carved out like I've seen the other ones. It is beautiful. And again, I mentioned that I got this beautiful candle. I got a few other things. I visited her store twice while we were there for the weekend. It was a great, great experience. And again, I'll share some of these pairings with you, but I just wanted to go through my guidebook with you and just show you my guidebook, my journal, and just share with you that it has really been taking shape in a different way than I've worked with my journal ever before. And I don't know, something just switched and moved, and it was just different for me. And it begins, or it continues, to just get deeper and deeper. Another thing that I've started to do during full moon and new moons, I always come up with a flow within my yoga classes. So what I've decided to start doing is documenting my flow. I have an overall idea of what I'm going to do when I get into class as far as my peak poses or something that we're going to work with or a specific idea or theme within the class. But when I get there, it's always a different story. You know, there's always something or an energy within the room that I kind of have to tap into and move with that. So what I've been trying to do is come home and document the flow. And it's been really reflective for me looking at the flows, because each particular pose in yoga has a certain energetic release or invitation within the pose itself. So it has been really neat to go ahead and just document the flows and put them in my journal, which I'm really enjoying doing that. And I think I might do that a little bit more. Now, another thing that I've started doing, so this was a yin class that I was invited to teach with a small group. And I included that as well because that was something a little bit different, a little bit out of the ordinary. So I'm including those items as well. So that's a look into my journal and just things that I'm including within my journal that may be a little bit different. And now we're going to go ahead and start talking about the deck pairings. So for my deck pairings, as you can see in my journal, there was more pairings that I had within the month, but these are the ones that really stood out to me. So I'm sharing the decks that I used the most together or that felt really deep within the readings within themselves. So this is the Wisdom of the Elders Oracle, and I really felt called to work with this throughout this time of Dia de los Muertos and also in going to Tucson. And when we went to Tucson, it was such a grounding feeling for me. I really felt connected to the land and to the community, and just speaking to the people that we spoke to, it just felt really good to me. I don't know, there was just something completely different about this particular trip. One of the decks that I worked with alongside the Wisdom of the Elders was the Gentle Tarot, and I love the Gentle Tarot. This is my all-time favorite deck. I absolutely adore this deck. The colors within the two decks are very cohesive. It is a very grounding and a very nature-centered pairing. And I really enjoyed working with these two decks in that respect. And there's so much within the Wisdom of the Elders that really does call into my personal practice. So this was a fantastic way to start the month of November, which is an extremely important month for me as far as the work that I do and how I'm working with spirit. This was amazing. I really, really enjoyed working with these decks together. Just completely beautiful readings, very centered, very grounded. I love these two together. Another pairing in this month was the Southern Gothic Botanic Oracle alongside the Little Sister Tarot. Both of these decks are pretty new into my collection. The Little Sister Tarot has a voice that is so soothing, so beautiful, so supportive. I really do love these colors. Now, one of the things about this month was the idea of just slowing down. This was a big call to me, and it has been, but it's been growing even bigger and bolder and stronger within my practice and within my life these past few months. So this particular pairing really fed that idea of slowing down and nurturing and working with the medicine of the earth. Again, because you have all these botanics, and it's just a beautiful pairing, very supportive, very loving, very caring. I really did enjoy this particular pairing together, and I worked with it quite a bit this month. Now, one of the decks that I purchased while we were in Tucson, or that my husband purchased for me, is the Mind's Eye Tarot. This is such a beautifully illustrated deck. Amazing. Now, alongside this, I use the Nature and Soul Yoga Wisdom cards. And this supported this beautiful, slow practice that I was trying very hard to be in touch with, just to slow down And it also was very supportive for my yoga practice in general and for my classes as well. Such a beautiful combination, very soft, very giving within the approach of both of these decks. I really love the tones within this deck. It is so, so pretty. The guidebook is good. It's very short and to the point, but I think that this deck here, I think that it's the art that really draws you in, and then the little nuggets that you get within the deck and seeing where the eyes are placed. I think that is a major part of working with this deck. Now, two decks that I had not even thought about pairing up, but one morning I was just like, let me try these two together. And I did like them. So this is the Forager's Daughter, and this is Woodland Wardens. Now, I'd have never thought of pairing these two up because there's so many animals. It is very animal-centered as far as the Forager's Daughter is concerned, and it is the same thing with Woodland Wardens. But the way that they read together was very, very interesting. It was very beautiful and introspective. I really did love this combination. It was really good. And like I said, this is not something I ever would have thought of pairing up together, but they worked wonderfully together. It was really good. And Woodland Wardens, I know that people pair this up with a lot of decks, and I have paired it up with a few and they've worked well, but not to the point where I'm like, yeah, this is it. And this kind of had that feeling where it was like, yeah, I can work with these together on a long-term basis because they really did make sense together. They felt good together. So that is the Forager's Daughter and Woodland Wardens. Now, before I share the last two decks or the last two pairings that really worked well for me, and that was for the new moon and the full moon, I wanted to talk about this particular book because I only read one book in the month of November, and this was it, Yin Magic, How to Be Still by Sarah Robinson. Now, I have one more book by her, and that is Yoga for Witches, and I adore this book. This book is so good. As you can see, there's tabs all over. It is just like this tiny little Bible, a quick reference for me. Even though I've been teaching yoga for years, this book is a fantastic tool. So whether you are a teacher or a student of yoga, Yoga for Witches has really been an amazing book. I love the way that she writes. I love her point of view. And Yoga for Witches was kind of pointing out to everybody, like, what is your magic and how do you put forth your magic into the world? And yoga is one of the ways that I help people move energy and use that movement to find healing and to find strength and to find comfort and to find release. So Yoga for Witches really made a big difference in the way that I see, that I teach, and the just overall idea about yoga. It was amazing. It's an amazing book. So Yin Magic, I had this book for a while and I skimmed through it, but I thought, how different could it possibly be than Yoga for Witches? And I have to tell you that it is very, very different. And it came in at a time, or not came in, but I reached for it at a time where I really needed this idea of slowing down. And I was looking for ways to do so within my practice, within yoga, everything, just overall. I just need time to slow down. I have just been feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So reading this book really helped me with this. Again, I am a yoga teacher and I am certified in Yin Yoga as well. So it's not that I needed this book to teach me yoga or to teach me Yin. I know that concept already. I have those, but the ideas and how she speaks on Yin and the overall idea of slowing down. I'm going to read this to you and just get this idea, because as we go into these deeper and darker months, I think it's important to find your place. So let me read this. What if we allowed ourselves to be guided by kindness, patience, and awareness? in our practice and in our life. Instead of by pressure to conform, compare, to meet standards, deadlines, and invisible markers of success. What if we simply sought peace and connection? There is things like that throughout this entire book. It is an amazing, amazing book. One other section, which I have it written down, so I'm going to read this to you. I believe that slowness is a power that we can and must bring into our magic because the modern need for speed has invaded this practice. A while back, I picked up a book of swift spells. I was struck by the word associations. To be modern is to be speedy, swift, and efficient. I am very keen to represent a counter idea of slow magic, easeful rituals, gentle enchantment, and leisurely spells, as well as magic to be found within the process of slowing down and being still, not as a better option, but merely a different one, something that maybe we can embrace so that we can have options to make things slowly when the mood takes us, or seek it in our practice. This is the heart of yin magic. This book gets into that like unfolding of slowing things down and the purpose of slowing things down and why are we so rushed? What are we afraid to tackle? What are we afraid to see? Now, one of the things as a yoga teacher, I noticed that it's very difficult for people to be in Savasana, that final pose at the end of your practice where you're laying in stillness and even being in meditation. It is very difficult for people to find that calm, that stillness. And this book addresses those type of issues. So if you are involved in yin yoga at all or thinking about it, there's many things here that can connect you to the overall idea of yin and how to work with yin to help you within your life. So this book covers things like what is yin and why is it important. She does have an introduction of the practice of yin. She gives journeys for each session. So here we have the seasonal celebrations of spring and summer and showing you and talking to you about the elemental energies of those seasons involved with those practices. And then she gets into fall and winter. And so she addresses a few poses with you. And in yin, you're holding these poses for anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes. And if you're doing two sides, 5 minutes on each side, it's going to take up a lot of time. So you may say, oh, it's just a few poses. You don't really need a lot of it. You can do just a few poses and it can take up a lot of time, especially if you're in the pose for 5 minutes. She addresses the wheel of the year. She makes connections between the Celtic and Chinese medicine. She speaks on the meridians, which is a concept that is very important within the yin practice and yin classes. But it is really a great book to embrace the magic of yin and slowing down. She even addresses the dark moons and dark goddesses in order to work with your yin practice. So it is a fantastic book. And the reason that I said that right in the middle of sharing all these decks is because I wanted to address just the idea of slowing down, of not being in a hurry, not, just making the most out of the time that we have, because nothing is guaranteed. This particular combination I used for the full moon in Gemini. And so this is the Superlunaris Tarot, and this is the Ancestral Magic Kit. I keep the witches and the, the tools separately. I can't remember the actual names for them, but anyhow, I keep them separately because one is the energy that you're working from or with from your ancestral line, and then one is the magic that you're working with from your ancestors. And pairing it up with the Super Linares was amazing. Look at these beautiful combinations that we have here. The way that these two work together was really great. I love that there's so much cohesiveness within the overall themes, and within both of these decks you have like this throwback to timelines, to the current and into the past. Neither one of them is set in any specific timeline, which I feel is extremely important when you're working with ancestral divination or ancestral work, because there is no set timeline when working with your ancestors. You know, we ourselves are future ancestors. I don't know, I just think that these two worked so wonderfully together. I love the overall theme. I love the overall colors. I love that there's no specific timeline. They were just beautiful together. Now for the new moon in Scorpio, I used the Goddess of Love Tarot alongside the Death Doula. Now I've mentioned to you before that sometimes I really do love to pair up newer decks with a deck that is older in my collection and that I'm so familiar with, because it really helps ground me and help me feel safe while working with these new energies. And I just love this combination together. This worked so well. We've got a lot of things going on within the Death Doula. We have these multiple layers of photography, and within the Goddess of Love Tarot we have this fantastic collage art. But this overall energy of Scorpio energy really felt right when working with these two decks. Another thing that I've been doing within my deck collection lately is really looking at the energy within that moon cycle and picking the decks based on that, rather than having a set collection of decks that I would use for the dark moon or for the full moon. Really looking at the decks and thinking, okay, what type of energy am I working with here, and what kind of deck reflects that energy? I know Dawn Michelle has been doing a monthly video as she steps into that new astrological sign and talking about the decks that work within that particular energy. And that is the same type of thing that I'm doing here now, that I have been doing in the past few months. And I'm really enjoying this particular practice where I'm really looking at the energy, because Western astrology is not something that I am a natural with. It takes me a lot of time to kind of dig into everything. So the Forager's Daughter Patreon, which is so darn affordable, really breaks things down, along with one particular book that Dawn Michelle uses as well. Sorry for all the noise. And that is The Stars Within You, A Modern Guide to Astrology. I've been working with this to dig into the body parts as well, that details how that particular planet rules, or what it rules within the body and the chakra, so that I can work with it in a yogic type of manner. And it really has made, I feel like it has made those yoga practices much more intense, a lot more meaningful. I've really enjoyed it. Now this deck, the Goddess of Love, I think I may have said that I would let you know how I felt about this deck. I love it. I love, love, love the Goddess of Love Tarot. It is an amazing deck. The guidebook is spectacular. The images are fantastic. The collage work is just beautiful. The only thing is that the deck quality, the card quality, even the box and the guidebook are great. They're good. But the deck quality is not that good. It's not something that should avoid you from working with the deck, not at all. But the price point on this deck on Amazon, I just checked yesterday, it was $16.12. So you cannot go wrong when working with the Goddess of Love Tarot. And I think at a certain point I will be grabbing a second copy of this, because I am not big as far as shuffling the deck. I mostly overhand shuffle. I'm not a riffle shuffler so much. I do it once in a while when I really want to mix things up. But when I do that with this deck, there is a deep bend in the deck, and you might even be able to see it now. I work so hard to take it in the other direction and to kind of level it out because it can get really deep really quick. So if you are a riffle shuffler, just know that it is going to bend, but it is so worth it, guys. Buy two. Buy two decks, and then you can just replace one when one gets worn, because this is an amazing deck. I don't normally say, hey, buy this deck, but this is an amazing deck. It really is. It's so good. And that's it, guys. That's my monthly wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate you. From my heart to yours, I will see you later.